Welcome everybody into another edition of Depot's Den. I'm your host Evan DePasquale, and it is the Super Bowl. We have finally made it after so many weeks. We have finally reached the last game of the NFL season. Now, I know for all of you football fans, the last game of the season is almost like kind of the worst because now there's no more football basically until September, or if you want to count August for preseason football. And it is this is finally another Super Bowl that I feel like that I can honestly say this has been a very I'm glad that I feel like we've got the best matchup in my personal opinion. I said in my last episode I thought that um it was going to be 49ers Ravens. So I was half right on that. At one point I thought that it was going to be basically Lions and Chiefs. And I was like, "Oh boy, I'm going to get this really wrong and I'm going to be really upset with myself." But we didn't. We got the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, which is in my personal opinion an absolute like nightmare. As a Bills fan and someone who has had a my heart broken by the Chiefs out of for the last 5 years or whatever, how many years it's been, maybe for the 3 of the last 4, where they ended on 13 seconds. They beat you in the AFC. Yeah, 3 in the last 4 years. The Bills have been their season has been ended by the hands of the Kansas City Chiefs. And that stinks. That just to me, my personal opinion, it has been really tough. Trying to get through knowing that again, you put yourself in a position to finally beat the team that you want to beat, but eventually it doesn't happen. And so that's probably what's most crushing about this is that, you know, they have they keep losing to the Chiefs and the Chiefs end up in the Super Bowl once again. The time where we thought the Chiefs are one of the worst teams in their little dynasty run, they still make it to the Super Bowl, and it's frustrating. It's another Super Bowl rematch. This is the 8th time in NFL and Super Bowl history where two teams have played each other in the Super Bowl and then played again in a Super Bowl, which I think is really fascinating. I was doing some trivia earlier on WGR. So this is the 8th time that the Super Bowl will have a rematch. So you got the Bills and the Cowboys. In fact, fun fact, that's actually the first time in that game was the first time in Super Bowl history that two teams played in back-to-back years. So it went Bills Cowboys, Bills Cowboys. Never happened basically same time, same place just a year later. The Cowboys and the Steelers, everybody knows about that with their rivalry back in the 70s, and then they ended up playing in Super Bowl 30. The 49ers and the Bengals, they played twice, 16-23. The Eagles, Patriots, the Rams and the Patriots, the Giants and the Patriots, and then Dolphins and the Washington Commanders now, at the time now and then now the Chiefs and the 49ers. So this will be the 8th time that the NFL has a Super Bowl rematch. And I think that that's really like I think it's cool. I think that that brings up a little bit of interesting ideology when two teams meet again in the Super Bowl because then you're like thinking, oh, you can look back at what happened in the previous Super Bowl and possibly, look at that and say, you know what, we can learn from this game. And I think that a lot of 49er players were on that Super Bowl team and they want this game probably really badly. They want to win this game because of the fact that they lost last year and how heartbreaking it was basically sitting on the sidelines of the Super Bowl and having to watch the other team get to celebrate with the confetti. I mean, I haven't I haven't obviously experienced that because I have not seen the Bills in the Super Bowl, but I could see it happening. Mahomes is 3-0 in his career against the 49ers, and that's including the Super Bowl win that they won a few years ago. I honestly, for me personally, I could see this being a defensive battle. I could see that there is a lot of possibility of that these are two great defenses. And I still, in my personal opinion, think that this could be really a tough matchup. I could see this being a tough match for both offenses, even though the 49ers have one of the best offenses in the NFL. I still believe, in my personal opinion, that it could be a low scoring game. And I'll get to my Super Bowl prediction later in the show. Just want to kind of give my thoughts on like some things. The Chiefs are in second in points and yards given up. So their defense is legit. And that's kind of why I see this being a defensive struggle. I don't see it being like, what we saw in the Patriots Rams, where it was basically, 13-3, where basically nobody can get anything going. I don't see it going that way. But I do see a really big defensive slugfest, a probably try to run the ball type of game. And you know what? I could be wrong. Both of these teams might put up 30 or 40. I don't know. And it could be the highest scoring Super Bowl we've ever seen, but I'm not too sure about that. Uh, the Chiefs' defense in 7 of the last 8 games have held teams under 21 points. I'm not sure which one the one team was. I think that it might have been the Bills game in the regular season where they were held under, where they scored 24, if memory serves me right. But this defense is legit, and that's what got them to the Super Bowl this year, was getting on, basically riding their defense and winning. And they didn't have to rely on Patrick Mahomes this year. Patrick Mahomes was able to, almost play it safe in a way. They were able to play it safe, and there are some players that are going to be out for Kansas City, and some, they have Kadarius Toney as a healthy scratch, and I think that Kadarius Toney after this season is not going to be with the Chiefs anymore. Kadarius Toney has been a complete, almost dumpster fire this season for Kansas City, and I would not be surprised if the Chiefs moved on from him. But now let's get into the game. I think that the big focus for the game, if you're the 49ers, is get the ball to McCaffrey and get it to him often. The 49ers are 12-1 when he runs for 75 or more yards. And I think that their key to victory is going to have to be running the ball with Christian McCaffrey. And I think that that's probably what will happen, is if they want, to win this game, they're going to have to rely on their running game and rely on Christian McCaffrey. And I think that George Kittle will have to be relied on as well. Now, their safeties for the Chiefs are really good, but also George Kittle does lead the NFL in receiving yards by a tight end this year. Travis Kelce, that's going to be another huge matchup. I do personally think that this is going to be, this is going to be a take what the defense gives you type of game. I don't really see that many big plays. Maybe there's going to be a few, and those few are going to decide the game. I do think that Fred Warner, his matchup with Travis Kelce is going to be huge for tonight's game. Another big matchup between the San Francisco offensive line, who has given up the 6th fewest sacks in the league, versus the Chiefs defensive line, who have gotten the most sacks. I think that that's going to be really, really important coming down to it. I think that Brock Purdy has had a really successful time facing the blitz, and I think that one of the things that they're going to try to do is get to Brock Purdy early and often, and I would not be surprised if the if they start to blitz whoever is going to be you know playing that defense is going to blitz, and they blitz the hell out of Lamar Jackson, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do it again. I think that their defense is focused on getting pressure to the quarterback, and I think that that's what's going to end up coming down to it when it comes, you know, when it comes down to or in a few hours. Um, this is going to be. I will say that I do like this matchup. This is maybe a matchup maybe some people personally didn't want, but if you're looking for the best game, I think that this is the one. I think that this is absolutely the game that you need if you want to basically come away with a victory. Feeling like, you know what, this was a good Super Bowl, kind of like last year's Super Bowl. It was a good Super Bowl to me, except for it got a really terrible ending. And that's really what I felt like. I would have called last year's Super Bowl the best Super Bowl ever, but I won't because the refs blew the whistle, threw the flag, basically giving the Chiefs an opportunity to basically run down the clock, and it did not give. And the Eagles basically just kind of went in and did not, you know, they ended up not having enough time to score, and that's really what it comes down to. I want to see a good Super Bowl. Now, do I want to see a blowout? Yes. And do I want to see the one team get blown out? Yes. The Kansas City Chiefs. I want to see them get blown out of the water. And that's because of so many times where we talk about them constantly winning. And that's one thing that's going to be really key to this game is who's going to, put up, who's going to put up or shut up. And right now, if you look at it, who has the hot hand right now? I think it is personally the Kansas City Chiefs. Everybody, and this is the thing that's going to annoy the hell out of me when it comes to the end of the once the end of the year comes around, or like their celebration. Everybody doubted us, blah 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 this, nobody gave us a chance, blah 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 that. And I'm just going to be like, dude, you guys have won multiple Super Bowls. If the 49ers win this, then I think that it's, I don't know if they'll say this is, they might talk about, oh, how Brock Purdy could never lead his team to the Super Bowl, being Mr. Irrelevant. And if the Chiefs win, they're going to find a way. Oh, everybody doubted us because of all these losses and whatever. And I personally think that either whoever wins, they're going to come out and say, everybody doubted us. No one believed in us. And I think that that's the most, that is total baloney, to put it word. Total baloney. I think that whoever wins this game should be like, yeah, we knew we were the best team or whatever, but it's not going to happen. I know in my personal being that whoever wins this game, they're going to come out in their championship parade and get up on the microphone and say, everybody doubted us. No one believed in us. And I think that that's kind of just annoying when it comes down to it. All right. I'm going to get to my picks, and then we'll talk about a little bit of what I really wanted to talk about was the NFL honors. A little bit shorter of an episode today. I wanted to make sure I got something done kind of quick because the Super Bowl is literally, kickoff is going to happen in around 2 hours. I think that Christian McCaffrey is going to get a lot of touches today, and I think that that will be the reason why the 49ers will win 28-24. And I think that I could totally be wrong. And if I am wrong, guess what? People can laugh at me, whatever freezing cold takes wants to get a hold of me and, call me out for a prediction that I made, then that's fine. But I think I'm more so thinking that who has the better defense, and I think that who will come up with the stop, and I think that the 49ers defense will will come up bigger than the Chiefs defense, because I think that there's too much speed with the 49ers offense that's going to lead to eventually them, getting the victory. All right. I want to get into the NFL honors. If any of you guys have missed what my analysis is on the Super Bowl and what my thoughts are, I'll make sure to get this posted before the Super Bowl. If you want to listen to this, while you're waiting on the Super Bowl, that's totally cool. But the NFL honors, that's kind of where the MVP gets announced. In my personal opinion, and maybe you want to call me a homer or whatever, I thought that, yes, Lamar Jackson deserved to win MVP. Did he deserve to get 49 votes out of 50 first place? Absolutely not. In my personal opinion, I thought that Lamar Jackson had an MVP season, but I did not think it should have been unanimous. I think that if you look at Lamar Jackson, he had a good season, but also at the same time, I did not feel like that everybody should have voted for Lamar Jackson for MVP. I was watching the NFL honors and people were putting out stats, and I agreed with it. We were talking about that Lamar Jackson is the first quarterback outside of the top 10 in both passing touchdowns and passing yards. And I think that really what it comes down to when people look at MVP, who did the best in December and January? And that was Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson looked the best when it was getting towards the end of the season. And I'm not going to tell you that Josh Allen should have deserved to win MVP, but I do think that a lot of people leaving him off the ballot and him finishing fifth is a little bit crazy because of what he had to go through, going through an offensive coordinator change. I think, in my personal opinion, I think that maybe he should have been like third or something like that. Aaron Schatz, I give him a lot of respect for being able to say, you know what, I'm not going to be with this group think and give Lamar Jackson unanimous. I'm not going to do that. And he did. And so basically he was the one person that voted for Josh Allen, and people like saying like, I just personally, in my opinion, I thought that Lamar Jackson was not a unanimous MVP, and whatever. He won MVP, good for him. In my opinion, he should not have gotten 49 out of 50 first place votes. I was a little surprised when it came to Damar Hamlin for comeback player of the year. Now you're probably looking, people are probably saying, I'm not surprised. He barely played. I get it. Joe Flacco basically came from off the couch and wheeled the Cleveland Browns, to the playoffs. But I think what it comes down to is the injury and how did this certain person play, basically. That's what I feel like this really comes down to. And in my personal opinion, I think that Damar Hamlin died. He died on the field, and within not even maybe a half calendar year or a little bit over that, he was back on the football field. Now, did he play much? No. But I'm going to tell you that I do think that Damar Hamlin still should have deserved comeback player of the year based off of what he went through. The guy was in a coma, and, you know, so I see it from a standpoint where I could support both Joe Flacco, but also, in my personal opinion, I thought that Damar Hamlin had the more inspiring comeback. This guy had a cardiac arrest and ended up, you know, being and then got back on the football field. And again, I get it. He's a quarterback. He didn't play. He played more. But in my personal opinion, if you look at it from who had the better comeback, Damar Hamlin did. Other than that, really, I mean, there's only one thing that I had a problem with when it came to the NFL awards, and that was Kevin Stefanski getting Coach of the Year. Do I think that he deserved it? Yeah. In my personal opinion, my Coach of the Year was DeMeco Ryans. He basically took the team that had a rookie quarterback, a rookie play caller. Everybody was probably predicting them to be one of the like finish almost in last place in their division, and they win the division and they win a playoff game. And I just think that look at that. Yeah, I think that the big reason why Kevin Stefanski won Coach of the Year is because he was able to get around not having his starting quarterback for a good portion of the season, and also he was able to get around not having his star running back. So in all fairness, he deserved it. But my pick would have gone to D'Amico Ryans just based off of being a rookie play caller, and they weren't expecting much from the Texans, and they come out and they pull off an incredible performance. I liked CJ Stroud being named Offensive Rookie of the Year over Puka Nacua. Yep. I think mainly because he's a wide receiver, but I could totally see if Puka Nacua did win Offensive Rookie of the Year, I would not have been disappointed about it. But this is like also another thing that gets back to is that quarterback is looked at totally different compared to wide receiver. And that's why he won Rookie of the Year. Like you look at when Dak Prescott, he won Offensive Rookie of the Year. And some people thought it should have gone to Ezekiel Elliott, but it didn't. And I think that's because they look at quarterback completely different than any other position. And I like McCaffrey winning Offensive Player of the Year. It's basically MVP that isn't a quarterback, in my opinion, Offensive Player of the Year. And I think that, in my opinion, Christian McCaffrey, if it wasn't given to a quarterback, is the MVP of the NFL. And I like the Myles Garrett winning Defensive Player of the Year. I could get the argument between him and TJ Watt. But I still personally think that Myles Garrett had just as good of a defensive year. Yeah, you could put the stats up, but I think that it came down to watching film, and people thought that Myles Garrett was the better defensive player. So that's really how I feel about the NFL awards and the Super Bowl. Super excited. Hopefully, I don't know how you view, like, are you excited about the Super Bowl, whether it comes to the game or the commercials or the halftime show? I hope for a good game and some funny commercials, because that's one of the things that I love about the Super Bowl is the game and also the commercials. That's going to do it for this episode of Depot's Den. I have been your host, Evan DePasquale. Tune in next week. We will talk about the Super Bowl, what I liked, what I didn't like about it, and we'll also try to get into some Sabres talk. I'm sure that some of you have been waiting to hear me talk about the Sabres. I will make sure to get that with football season. They say football is king, so really excited about that. Thanks for tuning in. You've been listening to Depot's Den, and we will see you next time.